What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers, and join me here today to talk about the Buffalo Bills taking on the Baltimore Ravens in a highly competitive Sunday night football matchup. Help me out in dissecting and breaking down these games is, of course, Jay McLovin from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Jay, how you doing, my friend? We have a good one lined up for Sunday night. Two teams that can score points in bunches. Who you liking in this one?
Yeah, absolutely, Logan. This is a very interesting game to me because for many reasons. One, this is going to be a good one. It's a 7:20 night game on NBC or Peacock, whatever you use. So it's going to be interesting, right? You get the Bills at 3-0 versus the Ravens at 1-2. This has not been the prototypical Ravens team that we've seen in the past. I mean, we've kind of gotten up to a little bit more of a sluggish start. It actually took a very non-competitive Cowboys team to keep it clean and nice that they actually got a win against, right? When you look at if you take the Bills as a whole, what they did last week, they played the Jaguars and they crucified them. I mean, you got to almost think that Doug Peterson is probably on the hot seat and Trevor Lawrence is probably contemplating the meaning of his career. It was so bad. They took out the Jags 47-10. Lawrence was very, very pedestrian at 21-38 for 178, one touchdown, one interception, but he took 4 sacks. That's never a good thing. Anytime you're on you take a sack or two, okay, you can bounce.
Hey, you're good.
If you're taking 3 or more sacks a game, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to win that game, or it's going to be a long, gruesome battle for you. When you look at the rush, it wasn't a whole lot better. 17 carries at 92 total rushing yards. These guys were just under 300 total yards. Matter of fact, they were probably like around the 260 range in my rough math looking at it. When you look at Josh Allen, however, now this guy is playing well. 23 of 30, almost, that's almost 100% completion rate at 263 and 4 touchdowns. I mean, he was just lighting it up. And then when you look at the rushing game, it was just right on par with the passing game. 29 rushes, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's 6 touchdowns between the rushing and the passing. Logan, these dudes couldn't stop a wet paper bag from going down the street in a hurricane. The time to be alive, man. But that's where it is. Now, when you look at the flip side of that and the Ravens versus the Cowboys, if you watch the first 3 quarters of that game, you'd think the Cowboys were dead on water. Then when it came to the 4th quarter, somebody woke up, somebody inserted said pit bull inside themselves and actually came out to play a damn game. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. They took the loss at 28-25. But when you look at the telltale tape, Jackson gave you – I didn't even write down what Dak Prescott did because I didn't even care. But I will tell you that Jackson put up 12 of 15 at 182 and a touch. Tells me, Logan, 15 passing attempts. 1 passing attempt in the 3rd quarter alone. Just one little pass in the 3rd quarter.
That's all he needed. He didn't need to do much.
Exactly. That is all that he needed. But what it tells me is when I look at the rushing side of life, I'm looking at 44 attempts at 274 yards and 3 touchdowns to give them the 4 total touchdowns. So what that tells me, and typically Dallas has normally had a pretty good defense historically, but this is not the case. This year, that defense has been soft. The left side was horrible, if not non-existent. And what it tells me is the Ravens did not explore nearly enough that the passing part of the game. Right? When you get a team that literally the previous 2 games is getting blown out on the passing game because they can't catch a damn, or they can't pass defend the ball. I won't even bring up Carson, Wilson, Overshawn, and company, Trayvon Diggs. They couldn't stop it. They were getting blown out. Logan, I'm sure you watched the game. There were many times they were getting blown out. And for some reason, it really sticks out to me that a quote-unquote NFL MVP removed could only give 182 yards. It's kind of discouraging if you ask me. If I'm a Ravens fan, it's kind of discouraging. If not, maybe it's just the reality of who Lamar Jackson is. The point I'm making is this team is very one-dimensional. Very one-dimensional. And with the Bills team, who has a pretty good defense and a very good offense, they should exploit the hell out of Baltimore and make them look like the Baltimore that we know that they really are. When you look at it, Miami, in terms of how many points they've given up on these defenses, the Bills have played Miami, Arizona, and Jacksonville, and respectively, they gave up 48 total points. 48 total points. The team that gave them the best run was Arizona. And obviously, you saw what Arizona did to the Rams and so forth. So you almost got to put some respect now on this Arizona team. But they only gave up 48 points total in defense. When you look at the Ravens, however, they gave up 27 points to Kansas City. They gave up 26 points to Vegas, and they gave up 25 points to Dallas for a total of 68 total points. Now, Logan, when I got a Bills team that allows 48 points and a Ravens team that's given up 68 points, that 20-point disparity, along with the fact that the Ravens are one-dimensional, tells me everything you need to know about this game. In all honesty, Allen has put up over 500 yards, 7 touchdowns, and Cook has given you over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Shakir has given you 8 for 96 and a touchdown. That's their leaders. When you look at the Ravens, Lamar Jackson has given you 59 of 90 at 702, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Not bad. When you look at Henry, 56 carries at 281, 4 touchdowns. Not bad. And then when you look at Flowers at 16 for 148 and a touch, that just tells you, okay, they've got some better numbers than the previous games that we've talked about. Mm-hmm. However, in a comma, I don't think it's even going to be close to being good enough to go up against this Bills team, which apparently has caught some serious fire and now looks to be the most formidable team in their division. So with that having been said, I see the Bills improving to 4-0, and I think it's going to be a blowout game. I think it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood. I would give it 35-17 favor of the Bills.
Okay. When I look at these two squads, I'll start off with Buffalo first and foremost. Josh Allen in the MVP conversations early on. You can't deny that. He's looked great, Jay. He's looked tremendous this year. 75% completion percentage, 600-plus yards, 7 touchdowns. You mentioned it, no picks as well. Only been sacked twice. Credit to both him and his O-line for keeping him upright and in the air and doing what he can do. Of course, we all know he can get it done with his legs if need be. 85 yards on the ground for him as well. But James Cook, Jay, and this is what we've been saying with Buffalo for how many years now? If they can get a good running game, they have a chance to go far. So far, James Cook, he's looked great. Just under 200 yards on the year, 4.6 average. He's got 3 touchdowns. He's getting it done. Like I say, he doesn't need to be the number one option, but as long as you can show up when you need to, that's going to help you win ball games and get far in the playoffs. Receiving game. Look, everyone was saying, hey, where's Diggs at, right? Lost him this offseason. I mean, honestly, Jay, no Diggs, no problem. They haven't dropped off in production, which honestly I'm surprised by personally. The emergence of Khalil Shakir, 168 yards, Jay, 2 touchdowns for the young man. And Josh Allen is giving it to everyone. He's giving touchdowns to everyone. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. James Cook has one. Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, who they drafted out of Florida State, Ty Johnson, Mac Hollins. I mean, everyone is getting a touchdown from Josh Allen, and I know they're loving him for that. So, like I said, with Aaron Rodgers, and with Matt Stafford and then a lot of the guys who've been in the league for the seasoned veterans, and Allen is slowly getting there. But that's what great quarterbacks do. Is you don't hone in on one guy per se. You got to give it to your whole receiving core, and that's why they're off to a great start, and they're putting up so many points each and every game. And when you look at this team for Buffalo on their defensive side, I mean, like I say, you look at the games that they've played so far this year. Arizona, week 1, it's week 1, right? 28 points to them. But then they hunkered down 10 points against Miami, and then also 10 points against Jacksonville this past week. They've really locked in over these last 2 weeks, and credit to their team and how well they've been able to get things going here. Jay, 11 sacks already. They are getting to the quarterback. Von Miller, look, man, I know we said some not so hot things about him last year. Really ever since he came over to Buffalo, but so far he is looking like the Von Miller of old. He's looking good this year. Greg Rousseau, another guy who's who's also tied first on the team in sacks. Out of the U, he's starting to kind of come around. Former first-round pick for a couple of years ago. And then, of course, when you look at this team, you got to look at their secondary. And Jamarcus Ingram, who's got a couple of passes defended, 2 interceptions as well. Christian Beneford and Damar Hamlin, who got his pick last week, as a lot of people saw. So they are just loaded, Jay. They are a really good team in the AFC East. That's the reason why they're in first place, and that's a reason why a lot of people still thought that they were going to be the team to beat out there. And so far, that's just how it is. That's how they are, and they're looking great. Flipping the script now, talking about Baltimore coming into this game off to a slow, we can say, 2-1 start. Not a lot of people thought that they would be 2-1. A lot of people thought that going into this matchup, it might be a matchup of the undefeateds, 3-0 versus 3-0. That is not the case. Baltimore lost to Kansas City week 1. Look, we knew that was going to be a good game, tight game, kind of a toss-up, right? But then, Jay, they lost to the Las Vegas Raiders, which was a surprise to me and a surprise to a lot of people. Lost in that game by score 26-23. Then they came back, and like you said, they beat the Cowboys it was a closer 28-25 ball game. But if you watch the game, you know that Baltimore kind of took their foot off the gas at the end of the ball game there and really got them back into it. But I mean, Lamar Jackson's doing what Lamar Jackson does. 700 yards on the year through the air. Great numbers there. 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, sacked only 3 times as well. And he's getting it done with his legs, 250-plus yards on the ground. But, Jay, for once, he is not the leading rusher on this ball club anymore after probably since the time he's been in the team. Derrick Henry exploded last week. My God, I don't know what he did, if he spent an extra 10 minutes in the cool tub or what, but he got it working last week. 5 yards a pop is what he's getting so far this year. 4 touchdowns. He's getting 93.7 yards per game. If he can do that against Buffalo this week, Jay, then they've got a better chance, perhaps, that maybe they haven't had in years past. Your receiving core, you got 3 really good guys in terms of Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, and Rashad Bateman. All 3 of those guys have over 100-plus yards on the year. They also each have 3 of the only 3 passing touchdowns on the season. And the defense, Roquan Smith was listed as questionable as of my last check from 16 hours ago, limited due to an ankle injury. So we'll see if he is going to be able to get things going and how productive he could be against this Buffalo Bills lineup. It remains to be seen. And when you look at this team, they have 10 sacks on the year, so just 1 less than Buffalo does. That's Kyle Van Noy, your linebacker, leading the way. He's got 4 of them. And then Odafe Owe, he has 2.5 behind him. In terms of your secondary, you've only got 2 picks on the year, Jay. That's coming 1 a pop from Roquan Smith and from Marlon Humphrey, who has picked up the other one. When I look at this team, when I look at this game, like you said, it's going to be a primetime Sunday night ball game. It's going to be, I don't know. I don't think it has the same hype as it does. Maybe in years past, might be, later on down the road, getting closer towards the playoffs, in the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll have to go with the slight edge to Buffalo in this one. I think that they've just been very, very impressive on offense. And someone's got to stop them, Jay, before I can bet against them, before I can say, okay, you can beat them. Because, Jay, when you have a team in Buffalo who lost their number 1 wide receiver last year, but they still put up 34 points, 31 points, and 47 points, that is a credit to the team they have at this moment, credit to the coaching staff, credit to the offensive schemes and game plans. So I think that right now they just have the better unit and definitely the better offense. So for that reason, give me the Buffalo Bills in this one. I'll go final score 34-24 with Buffalo getting the W. All in all, I think Baltimore is going to have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to say, all right, look, we're gonna do our best. We're gonna try and beat this team who has been really good the last couple of years. But I think in the end, Buffalo's offense is just too high powered. And like I said, someone's got to stop them for me to bet against them. So until then, I'm rocking with Buffalo getting the win by 10 in this Sunday night matchup. Well, Jay, I appreciate you, my brother, coming on the show, breaking down these Buffalo Bills and these Baltimore Ravens. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, until next time, we'll talk to you again on another live episode.